Hello students. So today we'll start with a new chapter, that is body fluids and circulation. So it is a third chapter from human physiology. So in human physiology already we have discussed regarding the digestion, that is digestion and absorption of food. So in that chapter already I have studied in detail human digestive system, digestion of food in mouth, stomach and intestine, the digestion of carbohydrates, proteins and fats, right? Then what are the disorders which are associated with the digestive system. Okay, in detail already we have studied in the human in the digestion and the absorption of food. Then second chapter we have studied is that breathing and exchange of gases. So in that chapter we have studied in detail we have studied the human respiratory system, that is the transportation of gases and the disorders and all. So body fluids and circulation, it is a third chapter. Okay, so body fluids and circulation, immediately after hearing this term I know the image which comes to your mind is a human heart and the blood, right? So in this chapter in detail we'll be dealing with the structure of human heart and the components of blood, right? Then double circulation, ECG and the disorders which are associated with the human circulatory system. Fine. So again here actually in case in human physiology each chapters are related to one another. Okay, first digestion, then completing human digestive system, then comes the human respiratory system. Fine, in human respiratory system you have studied the structure of lungs and all. So now comes the human circulatory system. In this you will be studying regarding the structure of the human heart, right? So each chapter they are related to one another. Fine. So again here in this chapter, that is in the body fluids and circulation, what are the contents we are discussing in this chapter is that first the properties of blood. So in detail we'll be studying what is blood and what are the properties of blood and its functions. Then second one is the lymph, that is tissue fluid. Then third comes the circulatory pathways, then double circulation, then regulation of cardiac activity, then disorders of circulatory system. Fine. So these are the contents in detail we'll be studying in this chapter one by one. Okay, before moving to the components of blood and all, first we'll study what is the definition of circulation. So in your lower classes already you have studied that what is the definition of circulation, right? That circulation is nothing but the pumping of blood from heart to different parts of the body, and you have studied. Yes or no? So yeah, circulation means the blood is the most commonly used body fluid by most of the higher animals, including human beings. So for this purpose we have also got the another fluid which is known as lymph. It will help for the transportation of the substances. So in our body you already know that the blood is the only fluid medium through which the transportation of substances will takes place in our body. Then apart from the blood even we have got the another fluid which is known as the lymph. Even it will also help for the transportation of certain substances. Okay. Next comes the human blood. So you already know that what is blood and what are the components of blood and why blood is red in color and all in detail you know, or some of the components, some content regarding the blood you know at least that blood is red in color because of presence of hemoglobin. This at least you know right from your lower classes, right? So what is blood? Blood is a special connective tissue. Okay, blood is a special connective tissue which is consisting of fluid matrix, plasma and the formed elements, right? So major blood, at least it is a fluid connective tissue only. Then apart from this it is consisting of plasma. You'll find nearly 55% of the blood it is consisting of plasma. Then 5% of the blood is consisting of the formed elements. Okay, so just once we'll have a glance. Let me show the schematic representation of the components of blood. So this is a schematic representation. So one by one in detail we'll study. So blood generally it is having two components. So one is plasma. So nearly 55% of the blood is consisting of plasma. Then remaining 45% it is consisting of the formed elements, right? So again here in the formed elements it is divided into three types. One is red blood cells, Then second one is white blood cells or leukocytes, and the third one is the platelets, or it is also known as thrombocytes. So people are very much familiar, RBC or red blood cells, or it is also known as erythrocytes. Then WBC or white blood cells, or it's also known as leukocytes. Then third one, platelets or thrombocytes. Fine. Then WBC, that is leukocytes. Again, it is divided into two components. One is granulocytes and another one is the granulocytes. Fine. Then granulocytes, that is divided into three forms. One is basophils, eosinophils and neutrophils. Okay. Basophils, eosinophils and neutrophils. Then granulocytes, it is differentiated into lymphocytes and monocytes. Fine. So this is a schematic representation of the blood, that is the components of blood. One is plasma and the one is the formed element. Then next we'll move on to the plasma. In detail we'll study the plasma. So I'll come to this slide later after the explaining detailed definition and all. You will understand what is plasma and all. So once again you can have a glance regarding the definition of blood. So what is blood? Blood is the fluid connective tissue that circulates through the heart, arteries, capillaries, veins, and which also carries the nutrients and oxygen to the body cells. So in our body, each and every cells, they are supplied with oxygen, minerals and essential substances which is required by the heart. Again, from the heart it is supplied through the blood vessels, that is arteries, veins and all. Okay, then apart from this, what are the waste which is produced by the cells? It is also eliminated out from the body for the normal functioning of the body. Okay, so here you can see that the blood measures about 5 to 5.5 liters in an adult man, which is mainly consisting of 30 to 35% of total extracellular fluids. Okay, then comes the components, blood components. It is mainly consisting of plasma, then formed elements, that is blood cells. Plasma is a fluid, then blood cells, they are the formed elements. Okay, so we'll see one by one in detail. Okay, plasma. So plasma is a straw colored viscous fluid which is mainly consisting of 55% of blood. So 55% of our blood, it's mainly consisting of plasma. Right. So again, in that plasma, it is made up of 90 to 95% of water and 6 to 8% of proteins. Okay. Hope you are getting what I am saying. Now I am discussing regarding the components of blood. Okay. In the components, first we are discussing regarding the plasma. Okay. So first what I am saying, definition of plasma and what does the plasma is made up of. So in our body, the blood, it's mainly consisting of 55% of the blood, it is made up of plasma. Okay, so in the plasma, it is made up of 92% it is made up of water, and remaining 6 to 8% it is made up of proteins. Again the plasma, it is consisting of 3 proteins. Okay, in this 6 to 8% proteins will be there. No, again in that proteins we have got 3 types of proteins are there. One is fibrinogen, globulins, and third one is the albumin. These 3 are the types of proteins which are present in the plasma: fibrinogen, globulins and albumins. Okay, so one by one we'll see now what are its functions. So first comes the fibrinogen. So fibrinogen, it is needed for the clotting and the coagulation of blood. So fibrinogen, what is fibrinogen? It is a protein which is present in the plasma. Then what is the function of fibrinogen? It will help for clotting or the coagulation of blood. Okay, it will help for clotting of the blood. Second one is globulins. So again here globulins, it is primarily involved in the defense mechanism of the body. Then third one is the albumin. So again this albumin, it will help in the osmotic balance. Okay, so 3 types of proteins and its functions you have to know. Then apart from these proteins, plasma, it is also made up of small amount of minerals like sodium, calcium, magnesium, bicarbonates, chlorine, etc. Then glucose, amino acids, lipids, etc. Even they are present in the plasma as they also transit in the body. They are present in the lesser amount. Okay. Then the factors generally which will help for clotting and the coagulation of blood, they are present in the plasma, but they are in the inactive form. Okay, if the plasma is not having clotting factor, then it is called as serum. You can see your definition. What is serum? The plasma without clotting factor, then it is called as serum. So generally in the plasma, the factors for coagulation of the clotting of blood, they are present, but they are in the inactive form. If they are absent, means they are not present, means then we call it as the serum. Okay, so these are the components of the plasma. Then apart from this, what are the functions of plasma? First, plasma, it will help for the transport, right? Then it will help for the body immunity, then prevention of blood loss, then retention of fluid in the blood, then maintenance of blood pH, then uniform distribution of pH at all over the body. Fine. So these are the functions of the plasma. So this is a complete description of the plasma, right? That is in the blood components. First we have discussed regarding the plasma. So in plasma, what you have to keep in mind? Definition of plasma and what are the components of plasma. That is plasma, it is mainly made up of three types of proteins. One is fibrinogen, globulins and albumin. Then as comes the functions of the plasma. Then you have to keep in mind the function of serum. Okay, plasma without clotting factor is called as serum. Okay. Fine. So next comes the second part, that is the blood cells or formed elements. So again here blood cells are of three types. Okay, one is erythrocytes or RBC, leukocytes or WBC, then platelets. Fine. So these blood cells or the formed elements, it mainly consisting of 45% of the blood. So as I already told you that 55% of the blood is consisting of plasma and remaining 45% it is consisting of the formed elements, that is the blood cells. Okay, so in blood cells how many types? Three types. One is erythrocytes, leukocytes and platelets. Fine. So one by one we'll discuss now in detail. So first comes erythrocytes or RBC. So again here in human body, that is RBC, generally they are present in most abundant of all the cells in the blood. Oh, so generally here where does this RBCs are formed? Generally they are formed, the formation of RBC, it will take place in the bone marrow of the adults. Okay, then the formation of RBC is commonly we call it as an erythropoiesis. So complete formation of RBCs on an average it will take place approximate 72 hours. Okay, it is completed in 72 hours. Fine. So here you can see that the erythrocytes or red blood cells, they are present, they are formed in most abundant of the cells in the blood. Then the formation of RBC commonly it is known as erythropoiesis. Then a healthy adult man has an average of 5 to 5.5 millions of RBCs per cubic of blood. So this is the average of RBC which is present in the healthy adult. Okay, it is approximate how much? 5 to 5 millions. 5 to 5.5 millions of RBCs in per cubic of blood. Okay. Then these RBCs are generally they are formed in the red bone marrow in an adult. Then they are large microscopic cells without nuclei in mammals except camel and all. Okay, they are biconcave in shape. Then these they have the red colored iron containing pigments. So you already know that why blood is red in color, that is the RBCs, red blood cells. The name itself cells, they are red in color because of presence of iron containing complex pigment which is known as hemoglobin. Because of presence of hemoglobin it is red in color, hence the color and the name of the cells, it is known as RBC. Okay, then the healthy individual has approximate 6 to 12 grams of hemoglobin in every 100 ml of blood. This is important to keep in mind. These molecules, they plays a significant role in the transport of respiratory gases. Even the transportation of gases also they plays a very important role. Okay, then another important of this RBC is that the lifespan of RBC is 120 days. This you know that. Then after 120 days where they will go? They will destroy. lifespan of RBC is 120. Then after completion of its lifespan, they will destroy themselves in the spleen. So due to that reason, spleen, it is commonly known as graveyard of the RBC. Then after 120 days, new RBC cells will be formed. Okay, so this is a complete description of RBC. So next we'll move on to the functions of RBC. So what is the function of RBCs? So RBC, first is that it will help in the oxygen transport in the blood. Okay, one, oxygen transport in the blood from lungs to all the cells and the tissues of the body. So in detail how the transportation of oxygen is done, you have studied in the previous chapter. Transportation of oxygen and the transportation of carbon dioxide from lungs to alveoli, and how it will be exchanged in detail you have studied. Okay, so meanwhile just you have to keep in mind here the oxygen transport in the blood from the lungs to the cells and the tissues of the body. Okay, then regulation of acid base balance of the blood and preventing the large change in the pH. It also helps in preventing the pH value. Then it assists in the transport of carbon dioxide from tissues to the lungs. Okay, so these are the functions of RBC. So what we are discussing now, we are discussing with the components of blood. So in components of blood, first we have discussed with the plasma, then blood cells. So in plasma we have discussed in detail what are the components of blood and what are its functions we have discussed. Yes, then blood cells. So again in blood cells, first one is the erythrocytes, that is RBC. So in detail we have studied, and also the functions of RBC. So second one comes the leukocytes. So what do you mean by leukocytes? Leukocytes are also known as white blood cells or WBC. So leukocytes, WBC, white blood cells, that is they are colorless. Yes or no? They are colorless. Again, why they are colorless? Because of lack of hemoglobin. You will not find hemoglobin here. So again here compared to RBC, WBCs are lesser in number. Okay, they are in thousands. RBCs are in millions, whereas WBCs are in thousands. On an average, they are nearly 6,000 to 6 to 8,000 mm cubic of blood. Okay, then leukocytes generally they are short-lived. They have got very less lifespan compared to the RBC. Then apart from this leukocytes, they are generally categorized into two types. One is granulocytes and another one is the agranulocytes. These are the two components or the two categories of WBC. Based on this, again they are classified into following types. So we'll see them one by one. Okay, based on the components, that is granulocytes and agranulocytes. So generally they are following. First one is neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils are the different types of granulocytes, and lymphocytes and monocytes are granulocytes. Granulocytes and granulocytes, these are the two categories of WBC. Again for the granulocytes, it is differentiated into three types. One is neutrophils, basophils and eosinophils. Then granulocytes, lymphocytes and monocytes. Okay, so first comes neutrophils. So generally these neutrophils, they are bilobed nucleus. Okay, these neutrophils are bilobed nucleus, and they are most abundant cells. They are present nearly 60 to 65% of total WBC. They are of neutrophils, and basophils are least. They are present in the lesser amount, that is nearly 0.5 to 1% among them. Neutrophils are present in the larger, that is in abundant. Least is the basophils. Okay, then neutrophils and monocytes, they are phagocytic cells which will destroy the foreign organisms entering in our body. So these are the functions of neutrophils and monocytes. What does they are? They are phagocyte. Phagocytic means already you know that the engulf, or they will destroy the foreign substances which are entering in the blood. Okay, then monocytes. Monocytes are largest. They are largest among all the type of leukocytes with rounded nucleus. Okay, they are the largest among the leukocytes. Next, basophils. Then what's the function of basophil? This basophils generally it will help in the secretion of histamine, serotonin and heparin, and generally they are involved in the inflammatory reactions. Okay, then eosinophils. So this eosinophils mainly consisting of 2 to 3% Then there is infections. So generally they help in resisting the infection, and also they are associated with the allergic reactions. Then lymphocytes. So these lymphocytes, they are present nearly 20 to 25%. So again in lymphocytes we have got two types. One is B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes. B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes, and these two lymphocytes, they are responsible for immune response of the body. They are responsible for immune response of the body. So this B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, in detail its structure and functions, you'll be studying in the next, in the second year in detail structure you'll be studying. So meanwhile, just you have to keep in mind that is two types of lymphocytes to form. One is B lymphocytes. Generally this B lymphocytes, they are produced in the bone marrow. Then T lymphocytes, they are produced in the thyroid gland. Okay, B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes, so they are responsible for immune response of the body. Okay, these are the detailed description of the WBC. Okay, that is neutrophils, monocytes, basophils, eosinophils and lymphocytes. Just you have to keep in mind their functions. Okay. So next comes the platelets. So again here platelets, they are also called as thrombocytes. Platelets are also called as thrombocytes, and they are cell fragments. Generally they are produced from megakaryocytes. So what do you mean by megakaryocytes? They are nothing but they are the special cells in the bone marrow. They are special cells in the bone marrow. Okay, you can see the normal value of these platelets. Then the platelets can release a variety of substance, and most of which they are involved in the coagulation of clotting of blood. So generally they plays a very important role in clotting of blood. Then it also helps in reduction in their number. It leads to the clotting disorder. If the platelets number reduced means it will leads to the clotting disorder. Then which will also leads to the excess loss of blood from the body. So again here the platelets have the lifespan of around 9 to 10 days, about a week. Okay. So that's about the platelets. Is this clear? That is the components of blood. It's a complete description of platelets. Then leukocytes or WBC. These are the different forms, categories of leukocytes. Then functions of RBC. Okay, done blood cells. Next comes the plasma. Okay, so now you can see the schematic representation. You will get an idea of this schematic representation. Okay, so this is clear. So in the blood, plasma it's mainly consisting of 90 to 90% of water. Then remaining 68% of proteins and the ions. Then this is a complete outline of the components of blood. Okay, hope this is clear to you. So today we have discussed just components of blood. So remaining we'll discuss in the next class. Okay, thank you.